Hey folks, Eric here, the Whatever Guy, because it really is whatever for me. And do you folks want to know about a new bill that would strip the Alabama Ethics Commission of the power to probe ethics violations? You guys stick around, man, and we'll talk about that. As you guys know me, my name's Eric. I'm the Whatever Guy, and I use videos a couple days a week, basically keeping you guys updated in the world Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, hemp cannabis, just what's going on around. But today, man, sitting here looking at this new bill that is being introduced into the legislature. This is a crazy situation right here. Like with all the crazy crap that we got going on with the Alabama Medical Cannabis Cartel, this is crazy right here. Like they are basically trying to pass bills and get this done before we get to a position where we can even probe them for ethic violations. We don't even know for sure if they've been probed for ethics violations in the past. This is crazy right here. Kudos to Brian Dabrowski for bringing this forward to me. This was actually a post that he posted yesterday, and you will notice that in my original post, I used his exact words because I couldn't really frame it any better than what he was saying it. Like that dude's right on par. If you guys don't know Brian Dabrowski, he's a big time proponent for the hemp and cannabis space, spends a lot of time keeping us up informed on what's going on in the hemp and cannabis space. And this bill right here, man, is a crazy situation right here because this would basically just hamstring the ethics committee. This is a nonpartisan committee that is basically tasked with the job of finding ethic violations in committee members throughout the United States or throughout Alabama. And as you guys know, in Alabama, we do have a lot of issues with graft and obviously, you know, things that are going on behind the scenes, not with just the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission, but with many other commissions prior to this and that are ongoing now. There wouldn't even be an ethics commission if we didn't have this type of stuff going on in the past. And now they want to hamstring them. And basically, this article to me, just like Brian Dabrowski said, is basically about the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission. So we're going to go ahead and flip over here to an article. I believe this is over here at the Coleman Times, and it says new bill. Let's see here. It says new bill would remove Alabama Ethics Commission's ability to investigate criminal ethics violations. The Alabama House Representative Matt Simpson from Baldwin County plans to introduce a bill next week which would reduce the Alabama Ethics Commissions to little more than a civil regulatory agency. The Alabama Ethics Commission is the state's only independent, nonpartisan agency responsible for holding lawmakers and public officials accountable. But a draft proposal recently courted throughout Montgomery removes its ability to investigate criminal ethics violations and gives the public servants the ability to remove the AEC director and its commissioners. When speaking to the Times by phone Saturday, February 17th, Simpson, who heads the House Ethics and Campaign Finance Committee, said that leaving the AEC's ability to issue civil penalties and handing out cases where criminal activity is suspected to the Attorney General office or to a local district attorney would create a form of checks and balances to protect against a rogue commission, a fear of which he said was based on horror stories he had heard about the commission's activities. I'm not saying any of this stuff is true, but if it was, there was nothing we could do. Some of the horror stories you hear are people that could be charged with crimes being told that if they paid a fine and a fee, they could do an administrative resolution on the matter and not have to being prosecuted or go to jail. That's troublesome to me, Simpson said. This bill would remove all criminal penalties from the ethics code and would authorize the commission to impose private censures, public reprimands, civil penalties, and restitution. In response to the bill dated February 14th, the AEC argued that a method of checks and balances was already built into the existing statute. The current law allows for the AEC to recommend cases to the Attorney General or district attorneys if any investigation uncovers a criminal violation, but it does not allow the commission to carry out that prosecution. Conversely, prosecutors are granted the authority to conduct their own concurrent independent investigations to bring about criminal ethics charges without a recommendation from the AEC. The AEC response also said it was impractical to separate civil and criminal cases because civil violations can often carry potential criminal implications. The district attorneys and the Attorney General have already had the ability to investigate and prosecute violations independent of any involvement by the AEC under the current act. In practice, this separation provides no benefit to anyone and only hinders public servants from receiving accurate, consistent, and helpful guidance, the response said. This shifts the burden of conducting complex and often politically charged investigations to local district attorneys' offices who may lack the staff and resources to complete such an investigation. Out of the nearly 400 complaints submitted to the AEC last year, 268 were closed after a preliminary inquiry, 18 were closed due to a lack of probable cause, 60 were presented to the commissioners, and only 10 were referred to prosecution. Guys, this is a crazy situation right here. If any of us were sitting on that board, or any of those boards, if we're driving down the road and we violate any law whatsoever, we are basically held into account. And they have allowed, like this AAC commission has found issues where they submitted it to the attorney generals. 60 cases, like there was 268 closed after it was 400 complaints. 268 were closed after a preliminary inquiry. 18 were closed due to a lack of probable cause, and 16 were presented to the commissioners, and only 10 were run into the prosecution. If any of us had violated any law down to the minutest amount, we would have been taken to court. We would have been criminal charges filed on any of us. And these commissioners that are on these boards in the state of Alabama need to be held to the same type of the same type of stuff that we are. Like, they should be involved in the same, they should have to worry about the same things that we have to worry about, but they don't, man. And they get to doing these things up in these commissions, and a lot of times they're only just getting a slap on the wrist, because Simpson's proposal would eliminate the AEC's 5-team special investigator unit and its ability to determine a lack of probable cause, according to the AEC response. The investigation to narrow down that caseload would fall on the shoulders of local officials. Simpson said one of the issues he has found with the current ethics law is that it can oftentimes be confusing, and even he, with 20 years experience as a prosecuting attorney, will need to reach out to the AEC quite often to ask what is and isn't allowable under the law. He said after accounting for family members of public service, nearly 1 million people are covered under laws that might make otherwise legal activity illegal. We can't just continue to duck our head in the sand and there's saying and there's a problem. They wrote this kind of weird. We can't just continue to duck our head in the sand and there's a problem, but nobody wants to address it because they may get a bad headline written about them. You read opinions of the Board of the Criminal Appeals for the Supreme Court of Alabama, and they talk about how vague our ethics laws are, Simpson said. According to the draft bill, the most effective way to make these laws easier to understand is by drastically reducing the number of people governed by them and removing many of the current law safeguards against corrupt activity. Under Simpson's proposal, that the value of what is considered a gift would be increased from $25 to $100, and public servants would be allowed to solicit them from the people and businesses they regulate. What? They're going to be allowed to solicit these gifts from, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. The bill also fails to define who is considered a friend of a public official, making it easier for them to accept gifts from lobbyists unless it can be proven that the gift was given because of the recipient's position. This is a reversal of the current law, which requires public officials to prove that they were not being corruptly influenced. This essentially creates a requirement that there be a contract to corruptly influence for a public servant to be guilty. The ANC. This is crazy right here, guys. Like, I'm not even going to read the rest of this right here. This is a completely weird situation right here. You guys can catch this over at the Coleman Times. I'm not even sure that that like this right here, if this bill passes through, we need to get into a position where we're contacting our representative. We need to get into a position where we are letting these people know that we don't agree with the type of stuff that is going on behind the scenes here. These commission members of any commission, whether it be the Alabama Cannabis Commission or any other commission in the state of Alabama, needs to have some sort of regulatory body, a nonpartisan regulatory body over the top of them to keep them in check. And this right here is a crazy situation right here. They're going to allow these commission members to solicit gifts from these public servants. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, from the businesses that they regulate. They're going to be able to solicit gifts between, as long as they're under $100, from these businesses they regulate. Like, I'm your boss. I'm fixing to tell you that your shit's not going to pass anything, but give me $100 and take me to lunch and everything will be fine. Like, that's a crazy situation right here. Guys, I appreciate Brian Dabrowski for bringing this forward. I hope everybody's having a great week, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow, man. Love you. See you.